Now let's talk about frames. This is a document that has 3 different frames. The title goes here. This is a standard layout for documents like this. Here's a menu, and the content will show up here when you click on things in the menu. So much for that. This is how the document works in the HTML. This is the outer frames document, and it uses the frame set DTD. It has a title, which displays at the top of the browser window. And it has a head, but it has no body. Instead, it has frame sets. Each frame set contains individual frames. There's a frame set. Here's a frame, here's a frame, and here's a frame. So there's 3 frames. And we actually have 2 frame sets in this document. We have a frame set that's organized in columns, has 2 columns, and that is this column and this column. And then we have a frame set that's organized in rows, and that would be this row and this row. The column specification has one item for each column. You can have as many columns as you want. In this case, I have a 130 pixel wide column and an asterisk, which means take up the rest of the space. You can also specify them in percentages. And likewise in the rows, I have 75 pixels at the top, and then take up the rest of the space. It goes from top to bottom. The columns go from left to right. And then each frame set will have as much content as is specified in the specification. In this case, there's a frame and another frame set in the 2 columns. The first column has this frame, which has nav.html and is named nav. And then there's a frame set, which itself has 2 frames, one for titlebar.html named titlebar, and one for default content.html named content. And then the outer frame set also has a no frames section, which is used for browsers that don't understand frames. You'll notice that none of these tags have any content, and so a browser that doesn't understand them will simply ignore them and not display anything. The only actual content for an older browser is in this no frames section, where there's a little information about how they can also see what the people with frames capable browsers see or experience. So that's the overview of the frames, and in our next lesson we'll look at the HTML documents and see how they address the other frames.